Oh, right. This is Formula One Philosophies Las Vegas Grand Prix recap. Talking about the 2025 Las Vegas Grand Prix. Right now, it's just me. It's just Nick. Sean is joining me in a few minutes. He's coming from another time zone, another country. So we're going to get him in a few minutes. But I just wanted to do a recap because he's on a little bit of a time crunch of what happened. So it'll be just me for the first few minutes. F1philosophypod@gmail.com, F1_philosophy at Instagram, and F1philosophypod, F1 Philosophy at YouTube. Please like and subscribe all of our videos. Help us grow this podcast so we can get out more content. Las Vegas Grand Prix came and went, and the championship is back on, as I'm sure a lot of you know. Max Verstappen only 24 points behind after this Grand Prix because of a McLaren double disqualification. Gets the title right back into the thick of things. I just have the top 10 here for you. But yeah, this Grand Prix just kind of threw the championship on the head. I went to sleep after watching it thinking, oh, Norris is 42 points ahead. Second place, a really good second in my opinion, by Norris to keep his championship hopes going. And then I wake up 8 hours later, or 7 hours later, and I find out him and Piastri have been disqualified to completely throw not just the driver's title championship on top of its head, but the constructors, because we saw a lot of teams get points out of nowhere. And so it's really tight at the back. But yeah, top 10 was Max Verstappen, another dominant performance, 23 seconds ahead. He's been doing more of these than Lando and Oscar this year. More dominant wins. He's found his sweet spot with the car, and I think he's going to be a threat for the last couple races, but we'll see. George Russell second, another solid performance. Antonelli third. I think they've locked up second from that to get 33 points to Ferrari's 12 and Max Verstappen 25. Or I guess Ferrari got 16. But still, they're just kind of running away with it now. It's going to be hard for Ferrari and Red Bull to close the gap unless both cars score big points. So you can count out Red Bull. Maybe Ferrari could swing something in the last two races. We'll see. Charles Leclerc fourth, Carlos Sainz fifth. Another great performance by him. He's just been absolutely turning the second half of the season on its head for Williams. He's been a lot better than Albon. That's for sure. He's completely disappeared. Hulkenberg seventh, another solid performance from him. Would have finished ninth, but still really good. Lewis Hamilton eighth. That's comeback drive, if you ask me. And now he finished 10th on track. And to me, two of the biggest beneficiaries of the weekend were Esteban Ocon and Oliver Bierman lining up 9th and 10th to get 3 points for Haas out of nowhere and to put them, I think, ahead of Aston Martin or tied with Aston Martin. I know Sean was talking about it last episode. Tied with, or 1 point ahead of Aston Martin. Yes, so to take 7th. Looks like 6 is going to be a tough ask for Haas, but still, to finish 7th again will be a big deal, considering where they were even just a few races ago. So what do I think, before we get Sean in here, about the race? I think it was a pretty standard race, nothing special. It's obviously not Brazil. It's not like any of the classics, for that matter, but still a great Grand Prix. Still exciting to watch because a lot was on the line, a lot was important. I think if it was just another race without championship possibilities, it wouldn't have been as good, but still watchable, I would say. Pretty standard one-stop race. Nothing to write home about there. We saw Antonelli go long on the hards to be the only one to go. I think it was 40-something laps in that treacherous conditions for the tires, but still they held out. So it seems the Pirelli tires are very strong this year. Sean has been talking about that a lot. They can last, they can go through a tougher period, and they can seem to bounce back better than anything we've seen in a long time. But otherwise, there wasn't too many curveballs. I think Norris, like I said, great performance in qualifying. Sean and I will talk about qualifying. It was a lot of fun to watch. Even though I think it's terrible. You shouldn't put Las Vegas at this time period, because if there is rain, it's not rain, it's ice. And you saw Q1, Max Verstappen almost unable to set a lap time because he couldn't not do track limits. I think it was at turn 15. A lot of fun to watch that qualifying as a spectator, but I think if the championship's on the line, that's not what you want. but I guess it did throw everything for a curveball. And outside of that qualifying, really, you saw Lando Norris nail it, and Lewis Hamilton didn't. And I think Sean and I will talk about that more later. But yeah, Norris set a very important pole, tied with Max finally for poles this year. That's important. Apparently, he just needed the car, right? Apparently not. I'm not shitting on Norris. I think Norris is doing what he has to do. This is an unfortunate double DSQ. Sean will get into it more because I'm not exactly sure what happened there. I know that I understood the plank wear was worn down, and it seemed that McLaren figured that out too little, too late during the race. Sean, I'm sure, will have a lot to say about that. Otherwise, Lando did all he needed to do, but I think the person who really just disappeared again was Oscar. And I think with Max now tied with him in points, I think we can officially write him off. I think Max will, at very minimum, get second unless Oscar throws a curveball at Qatar, which was his best track. Remember, this is where he won his first sprint race before Lando ever won a race. But we'll see. I'm going to talk about that more with Sean, what happens there. Outside of that, there's not much more to talk about. It's pretty interesting to me, Lewis Hamilton, after this weekend, talking about all the horrible races he's had this year. He's been very unhappy. It's his worst season ever, and he's not even looking forward to 2026. Ooh. What's going on at Ferrari? What's going on at Ferrari there? Why is Lewis feeling this despondent? Is he just trying to get the center of attention back on him? That's kind of the way he's been his whole career. When he starts failing, he just makes it all about him. He's a little narcissistic in that way. And I wonder if that's just the case, if he's just setting the bar so low, saying, look how hurt I am, look how hard this is, and knowing that maybe the car might be good in 2026, and if not, then he can just retire and just leave and make it all about him next year, about his retirement party through 2026. Meanwhile, Ferrari will miss out on yet another championship, which is not why they signed you, but I don't know what to say about Hamilton. I always knew this year was going to be a struggle. I was just surprised Ferrari didn't understand that. And it shows the ego of both parties there, that they both thought this was just a match made in heaven, when really there was a lot of negatives you could have taken going in that Sean and I talked about. Like, he was just never the kind of guy who could develop and grab Ferrari by the neck and take him in a direction. That's what they needed. They didn't need another, a older Charles Leclerc. Like, you knew this was a race against time, Ferrari. If he didn't nail it, what was your exit plan with this guy? This? Just kick him out and embarrass him on the way out? I don't think you want that either. I think you want to give him every opportunity to win. But if he's now not looking forward to 2026, what the hell's going on there? I don't know. I don't know. We're going to talk about this more with Sean. I just wanted to give a template about what we're going to talk about today. A thesis paragraph, one would say, if we're talking about a English grade 12 English essay. Yeah. So without further ado, that's my take on the race. Max Verstappen, obviously the best driver of the season. McLaren fumbling yet again. Oscar Piastri disappearing. A lot of constructors talk. And Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton, what's going on there? What's really going on there? And without further ado, we are going to be joined by Sean now. All right, and Sean is now joining us from former Nazi SS occupied territory.
That's a little excessive.
It was very. It was way over the line. I could have thought of something more clever. Sean, how you doing?
I'm all right. It's been an okay day. How are you?
Good. I did the blurb at the beginning without you, so that you weren't bored to death this time, so that we could just have a fun conversation.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's no problem. Sean and I were reveling of how the connection from where I am to Germany is better than the connection from where I live and Sean lives in the same province. But I think
Yes.
That's the definition of Canada in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we'll blame it on Rogers.
Yeah. Yeah, we both have Rogers, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Rogers' tagline should be, at least we're better than Bell. That's all they got going for them. It's like, hey, it could be worse.
But are they though?
In some instances.
I don't know that they are.
In some instances, they are. Like in certain areas, they're like. But that's the beauty of Canadian telecom is Rogers is really good in some areas, Bell's better in some areas, and nobody speaks about Shaw. So.
Yeah, well, they're owned by Rogers now.
Oh, that did happen. You're right. Yeah, my dad told me the story of Shaw used to have the West and Rogers used to have the East. And then old man Rogers the old man Shaw saw a brown guy running Rogers, and he said, "Deal's off."
All right.
That's a true story. Anyways.
Yeah. But I'm here. I can't remember if I'm on Vodafone or Deutsche Telekom at the moment, but it seems to be better than Rogers.
Vodafone, Deutsche Telekom, give us a call. You can sponsor this podcast. We will say nothing but great things.
If this is the quality of the connection from one of those, I will pay for that from Canada.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They may have to send me a Skoda Yeti to sweeten the deal for me to finally accept the sponsorship.
If there's anything Nick loves more than F1, it's probably bad European cars.
It's so true. Unfortunately, it's so true. The Nissan Juke was what, the Renault C400 or something like that. Big fan.
Yeah.
My uncle in Australia, God rest his soul, grabbed me by the shoulder, shook me, and said, "We are not buying a 25-year-old Peugeot 407 for $700." He shook me. This is not happening. Give it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I told you what I'm driving here before we started. And what I didn't tell you is the fiasco that happened on Monday when I arrived.
Oh, boy.
So any German listening to this will probably say, well, no shit. But I spent 2 hours waiting for Deutsche Bahn to get on a train that took 2 hours to actually hit the station.
Oh, God.
Yeah, 2 hour delay. And the only thing we got from them in response was a sorry for any inconvenience this may have caused.
Wait, you're in Germany and not Italy? Are you sure?
Yeah. Apparently the German trains are worse than the Italians.
That's what I gathered. It's I don't want to admit it because it means it's going to jinx the Italians and they're going to get really bad from this point forward. But yeah, it's very rare an Italian train is delayed.
I mean, I never had a problem with an Italian train. Mind you, I've only taken them 2 or 3 times. But when I ended up getting into town here, this guy from the office picked me up in the Skoda Karoq.
Oh, boy.
And we get in the car, and promptly, like a proper Volkswagen, doesn't start. This guy drove the car to the train station, and in the time from him stopping to me getting in, decided to break down.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Good luck next year, Audi.
Keep that in mind when you want to buy a Yeti.
I'm going to need a second car.
Don't worry, Nick.
Don't worry.
But don't worry. Audi F1 has an Italian at the helm. You'll be fine.
The more we talk about Audi and delve deeper into it, the more it's like, how is this team ever going to succeed? If the Germans messed it up so bad that they had to hire an Italian, you're off to a bad start.
When they had a German in place.
Yes. I guess the smartest Italian is better than the dumbest German. I would have never guessed it, but here we are. Wow. Shall we get into F1?
Let's.
So I gave the recap of the Grand Prix. As I said, Max Verstappen won. McLaren double disqualification. George and Kimi second and third. Kind of wrapping up second in the Constructors, kind of. I'll give your opinion on that. Whole lot of points for the smaller teams, which made the Constructors at the bottom all that more juicy and enticing. Piastri is still missing. They are doing egg cartons, his picture on an egg cartons now. And Lewis
Milk
Hamilton.
carton.
Oh, egg cartons was, oh my God, great start, Nick. Milk cartons. And Lewis Hamilton is listening to Everybody Hurts by REM on repeat for the next little while. Out of all the things I listed, what would you like to start with, or is there something else you had in mind that you'd like to start with?
No, I mean, I guess from my standpoint, I thought the race was actually pretty entertaining. Wasn't anything too extraordinary, but it was a good race to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, let's get into your points.
Okay. Yeah, I said the exact same thing. I said, like, with something on the line, it made this race exciting, whereas otherwise, if you outline a one-stop race with long stints on certain tires and most of the grid staying the same, it wouldn't count for a you wouldn't think that was an exciting race, but it actually was pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's go with Verstappen at the start with Lando Norris. Or actually, what did you think of qualifying? I thought it was a little ridiculous that they let that situation happen. I thought it was amazing to watch. But how the fuck do you get to a situation where there's ice on the road, for God's sake? Or like ice on the road?
Yeah, you're talking because it was cold and wet, right? It was raining.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there wasn't actually ice, but it's the strip, right? It's asphalt in the desert.
Mm.
And that's something we have to remember. Like, this is a daily driven road in the desert. So the tarmac is not freshly paved, grippy tarmac. This is decades old Las Vegas roads. Without race cars running around it, and the only series that were running this week was F1 and F1 Academy. And every day they open the road back up to the general public.
Jeez. This
was a fresh track every day. And even though it's cold, you're still in the desert. There's still sand blowing around. So it's not surprising that happened. But this is something that, is going to be an inherent issue at this track. You're racing at night in the fall. Yes, you're in Vegas, which everybody thinks is hot, but this time of year, you get 13, 14, 15 degrees overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we have. And either teams need to get on it or it's going to be really tricky.
Yeah, to say the least. Like, Verstappen almost couldn't set a time in Q1.
Yeah. And it comes down to the nature of the track being so fast, they trim all the downforce off. Right? They're using Monza spec downforce, but that means they can't turn on the tires. There's no load on the tire to actually heat them up.
Jeez.
So if someone were to put a shit ton of downforce on it, they'd get the tires working, but they'd be so draggy on the straights that they wouldn't be competitive.
Yeah. That's well said when you put it that way. Yeah. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
The solution was, I guess, everybody just keep running laps, barely any cool down laps, and you end up with Lando Norris with a pretty surprise lap. I thought he was going to crash out at some point, but surprisingly got pole, part of his great form as of late. But that's the best. His good form, I guess, ended there because after the start, kind of disappeared for a bit of the race. What did you think of the start?
He Landoed it.
Yes. Go on.
Yeah. No, as soon as I saw it, it was clear. He got a decent start. It didn't look like he had any issues off the start. But then Max Verstappen got under his skin and he chopped over to cut him off. And that ruined his line into turn one. So Max said, well, thanks. I'll take the proper line, and off he went.
Yeah, I'm seeing that video come up a lot today of Max deliberately, or not so deliberately, leaving more than 10 car lengths in the formation lap, which is a loophole. You're technically allowed because it says it's a reasonable distance. So Max was just holding back, warming up his tires, and that seemed to piss off Lando, as we've seen on the radio in the last couple of days. and
Mm-hmm.
he moves to cut him off on the first corner. Lando asking for a penalty or asking Max to get on with it, and all for naught. And it seemed to really psych him out, and definitely cost him a win, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
On track, because the McLaren double disqualification at the end. As I said in the original blurb, I went to sleep thinking, oh wow, the championship is over. Max is a great driver, but he can't do everything. To championship being back on, McLaren double DSQ, 24 points left, or 24-point gap with 58 points remaining. What do you think of all this? What do you all think? What do you think of Max Verstappen's performance? What do you think of the McLaren double DSQ? Do you think they knew a lot earlier than they're letting on that something was wrong?
Yeah, so let's start with the McLaren disqualifications. We saw at the end of the race, Lando lost a shit ton of time. Right? He was kind of pushing towards Max, and then all of a sudden he was gone. And what he said during the podium or during the post-race interviews was, yeah, I was being told to lift and coast. You know, we didn't have the fuel. But that didn't necessarily make sense, because there was a virtual safety car at the beginning, was there not?
Yes, a couple of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So unless McLaren ran it really close to the limit on fuel, it didn't make sense that fuel was the problem, because the flow rates are keyed in. They can't change those. So unless they really screwed up the calculation, there should have been no reason why fuel was an issue. So that was a little questionable to me. And eventually they came out and kind of indicated that they had seen a potential concern and they were trying to mitigate it. But it really seems like they tried to push the performance of this car to the edge to try and mitigate any Red Bull advantage. And we got what we got. I mean, on Lando's car, it was 0.1 of a millimeter.
Wow. Like it was.
And on Piastri's, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, it just very fine margins, like almost nothing. Yeah, that's all. I was just commenting.
Yeah. And on Piastri's car was more. It was no less than 0.25 of a millimeter, which is smaller than the width of a human hair, or most human hairs.
Do you think the FIA was looking for it? Do you think they were tipped off by something? I haven't said, I don't think there's any conspiracy here. I think this is just part of modern day F1. You have to be within perfect margins, right? Even old F1 was like this.
Yeah.
But to be that close of a margin, it's yeah. What do you think?
No, if you remember back in Brazil, there were some rumors going around about certain teams cheating the plank wear. So before qualifying in Sao Paulo, the FIA technical delegate, Joe Bauer, found some elements on a couple of cars that were for no other reason than heating the skid blocks. Which sounds like a weird thing to do. But given the nature of the material of those skid blocks, if you heat them, they will expand. So the FIA determined that was an attempt to cheat the plank wear system.
Oh.
Because if you have a plank that is lower than spec and you heat it and it expands, you might be able to push it over the number that's needed.
Ooh.
So they are looking for these types of things. Now, the cars in question in Brazil were not the McLarens. But they don't perform all these checks on every car after the race. But they do it on, I believe, all three podium cars. They will do skid wear. They will do a couple of other checks as well. So I'm not surprised that they caught Lando. And as a result of catching Lando, they probably went back and checked Piastri. Right? So they have certain checks they do on certain cars depending on where they finish. and they do random sampling throughout. But if they suspect that something is wrong, they can go and do more. So I don't think there was any conspiracy, anything like that. Just McLaren got unlucky in the sense that they were on the podium, so they subjected themselves to these checks effectively, and they got caught out.
Well said. How much of their race-to-race setup is dependent on this, do you think? Do you think this means for the championship in the next two races, they might get caught out? They might have some tougher races ahead because they have to redesign the way they do their setup? Will their setup be different now? Will they have a lack of pace because of this? Does this turn the championship on its head, or is this just a one-race misfortune?
They're not going to make the mistake again. Ultimately, what it is they ran the car too low. Right? Those skid blocks are there to stop the chassis from becoming the wear item. They put these skid blocks on so that the skid block wears and doesn't eat through the carbon fiber. The nature of Las Vegas, where it's got, 3 decently long straights, the car is going to bottom out in the straights. And that's that sparking you see as they kind of bounce along the straight at high speed. The longer they're allowed to bottom out, the more wear you get. So when we look at Abu Dhabi and Qatar, they don't have the same characteristics as Vegas. Now, Qatar is a generally high-speed circuit, which does raise concerns for this. But it's typically, let's say, medium-speed corners and not so long on the straights. So it may have an impact on McLaren because they will have to set their car a little higher than what they potentially want. But if their team is on it, and it's a sprint weekend, so this may play into the equation, they don't have the practice time to really measure and assess what that plank wear is going to be.
Ooh. At a time when...
So it may come...
I was just going to say at a time when every race counts right now going forward. Yeah, so it may...
Right. It may lead to them being more cautious and raising the ride height, which then takes away some of their performance. Because the lower you can run those cars, the faster they are, the more downforce they generate. So it'll be an interesting situation to see if they roll the dice and gamble on something that they believe will be okay, or if they back it off and end up, 4th, 5th, 6th, something like that.
Lando needs, I think, a 4th and a 3rd to secure the championship, and there's nothing Max can do. A 4th and a 3rd in the Grand Prix plus a close sprint. So I can see them going conservative because Red Bull's on it right now. As we saw with Verstappen this weekend. Red Bull's on top of things. That setup change in Brazil and the engine replacement is Lewis Hamilton a la 2021 right now. Max is genuinely fast.
And that's a good point. I mean, he went into Vegas with a fresh engine. He's going into Qatar with not a new engine, but still pretty fresh. That engine only has to do, 4 races? 4 races and 2 sprints? Not even 4 races and 1 sprint.
Yeah.
So that should be well within what the engine is capable of doing. So if he keeps that in the back of his car, they may need to dial it back in Abu Dhabi, not run at full speed. But I think it gives him a benefit, especially because I'm pretty sure the McLaren boys are on their last engine.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Pit lane start for one of Oscar or Lando in the next 2 races. Wouldn't that be fun?
It would be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah. Stay tuned, everybody. This championship just got turned on its head. I legitimately went to sleep thinking, how do I circle this square with Lando? Because he's going to win, it looked like. And it's like he has not been the best driver this season, but he turned it on at the right time. What I was going to say was he took control of McLaren. Right? He took control of McLaren in a way that Oscar didn't. And I think that's how I was going to justify it in my head, that I guess he did deserve the championship. And he could still very well win it. He really only needs a +2 points differential to Max all through Qatar, and he wins the championship before Abu Dhabi. It's doable. Just needs to win one race.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if you saw, because I commented on this solo, Oscar or Jos Verstappen saying, and this will just go into our Piastri discussion. Jos Verstappen saying to Oscar, you needed, like, that would have never happened to Max and us. Like, we would have taken control of the team. You need to be more assertive, Oscar. And I think he's right, because once again, here's another race. Oscar's just non-existent. And I don't know what your thought is on that, on what Verstappen said, what's going on with Oscar. I think he's done in the championship. Do you think he's done? Do you think Qatar is where he won his first sprint race is a chance for him to start anew? Floor is yours.
Yeah, I think Qatar is definitely a bit of an outlier in the sense that of the last few races, it's a track where Piastri has some success. Now, we've talked about this before. Piastri seems to be more of the smooth driver. Seems to have a little bit more finesse on what he's doing. And Qatar is a high-speed track that kind of favors that. So I think he has a chance to come back here, but I don't know if mentally he's in the right spot for it at the moment.
No, you're right.
Yeah, we've kind of, at least in my mind, I've kind of signed off on him for this year. We'll see what happens next year, but if he doesn't try to capitalize next year on some of the nonsense, then, or some of the confusion, let's say, then I think his chances of winning a championship with McLaren are gone.
Yeah, with McLaren being the key point.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think you answered everything there in one fell swoop. Yeah, so the odds had him, I think before Brazil, there was higher odds of Max winning the title. Like, and the odds makers have been pretty good. I think Oscar, has just, whatever McLaren did to him this year, it was just too much. I think just the thought of having to deal with his team plus Lando plus Max was too much for him at the moment. How does McLaren dial that back? I don't think they can. I think he's forever the number 2 driver.
Well, not according to Zach Brown. But in all seriousness, how does he dial it back? It's got to be a reset, right? Next year is a role. So if he can capitalize on the changes that he needs to make to drive those cars, right? Because we know that there's going to be a lot more adjustment from the drivers. It's not only just opening and closing DRS, it's going to be X and Y aerodynamics. And I don't have a firm grasp on what the hell that means. I've tried looking at it, and I get the general gist of it, but how it's going to be implemented and how the drivers know what to do when and where, it's a fucking nightmare. So if anybody can grapple with it, I think Piastri is going to get it over Norris. And that's where I think he dials it back, where, he puts his head down and he uses his inherent maturity, let's call it, to figure out what he needs to do and not get worked up and not get pissed off at the system. Then he has a chance of taking it over Norris. That is assuming, of course, that Max Verstappen doesn't just take to it like anything else and run away with it.
I think by the sounds of it, the Ford engines are going to be a big problem. That might keep Max Verstappen out of the first half again.
Yeah, but it's not a Ford engine. Let's be realistic.
What is it?
It's a Red Bull powertrains engine badged as Ford.
Interesting. Okay.
It's basically Red Bull set up their powertrain division when Honda left to make their own engines, and then they got a partner in Ford. So Ford is partnering for some of the electronics, but the actual engine is basically going to be a copy of the IP that Red Bull bought from Honda. That's as far as ICE goes. So it's not a complete start from scratch, and that's been some of the drama that McLaren has tried to interject into it all, that Red Bull shouldn't get additional time to develop their engine for next year because it's technically not a new internal combustion engine. It's the same engine they have this year.
So everybody else is starting from scratch except Red Bull.
No.
Then what are they whining about?
It's because Mercedes, for example, doesn't get extra time. They're allowed to start at X period or X point in time until we go testing. Anybody who comes in new, so Audi, Ford, they get extra time. So they've been working on it longer, right? They've had more dyno time, they've had more design time, they've had more time overall. And that's where Mercedes has jumped in and Renault has jumped in and said, hey, this isn't fair because all they did was buy the Honda IP. And then Red Bull pushes back and says, yes, that may be the case, but we're building this now. We're developing it. We've never done that before. And it's a fair point, right? They need experience with it.
Okay.
But the point still stands. The basic design is not a new design.
Yeah, that needs a mediator because that's two good sides to the story right there. I don't know. Maybe that's why they thought to bring in Ford, just use Ford as a cover badge, right? Oh, it's a new situation. Yeah, okay, I see.
Yeah, because the electronics are new as well, right? They're changing the way the electronic power is delivered and the amount of electronic power, so there is that aspect to it.
Next year will be interesting, that's for sure. I texted you that the Formula One driver's title always gets the most exciting right before a reg change, and that's what we're seeing here. Just before we move on to the constructors battle, so you don't think Piastri can Verstappen McLaren? If you know what I'm saying, he can't take over through brute force and get the strategy to go this way. He's going to have to do this the hard way next year.
I think so. I don't think Piastri's that type of personality to just grab it and take it over. He has the ability to do it, but he's not going to shoehorn himself in there, no matter how much pressure you put on him. So it's got to be one of these where he gets on top of it and he comes out as a natural number one, and Lando can't keep up.
Well, that was this year at some point. But it was all...
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was supposed to be Mark Webber. Mark Webber was supposed to be Jos Verstappen. But if he failed as a driver, he failed as a manager. I don't think he has as much pull as he thinks he does. Anyway.
Sure.
All right. The constructors heated up hard this weekend. Which end? This, like I said, once again, this is your talk right now. Where do you want to start? You want to start at the bottom? You want to start at second? Do you think that's over? Do you think third is even over? What do you think about 6th to 9th? Go on. What do you think about the constructors? Because like a lot of points for a lot of different teams this weekend after that double DSQ, and it's kind of turned the last two races on its head everywhere.
So for me, I look at this and I see each Grand Prix is a potential for 40 points. 43 points.
Yes.
Yeah, 43 points. So technically, second position isn't done, but we know Yuki's not going to come to play.
No.
So really, we're looking at a 25-point max, and I don't think we're going to get two races where Max outscores Mercedes by 25 points.
No. And
I think second is done.
Yeah, look at this weekend. Max is the best car on the track by far, and still Mercedes gets 33 points.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, it's nothing he can do there.
So second is done. Fourth place is done.
Wow.
So Ferrari is pretty secure in fourth. They're not going to catch Mercedes for the same reason that Mercedes will, or for the same reason that Red Bull will not catch Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it doesn't seem possible for the two. Fuck me, holy shit!
It's all that liverwurst.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd blame it on the beer, but yeah. It doesn't seem possible that the two Ferrari drivers are going to outscore Max, as ridiculous as that sounds. So that's a 21-point gap, and I do not see that happening. It will potentially get closer, but I don't see Red Bull losing third place.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right.
Racing Bulls has a very limited shot at catching Williams, but it would mean that Williams has to get 0 points, basically. If Williams doesn't get any points in the next two races and the sprint, and Racing Bulls does, there is a chance they lose fifth place.
31 points. Yeah, that's asking a lot of Hadjar and Lawson, but yeah, they could. You're right. I guess they could, but it's a tough ask.
Mm-hmm. Hadjar would need 2 podiums.
Or like a Lawson 7th, Hadjar 5th, 2 races on the trot.
Yeah. But I don't have that much faith in Lawson.
Apparently nobody else does either, so anyway.
Haas overtook Aston.
Mm-hmm. You called that.
Like we said last week. So that was phenomenal. In exactly the way that I had predicted.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, sorry, not exactly. I had predicted Ocon 10th and Behrman 9th, but either way, it was a 9-10.
Mm-hmm.
3 points. So, Aston's now pinned to 8th place. I don't see that changing. Sauber is nibbling at the Aston Martin lead.
Wouldn't that be nice?
And frankly, it would be fantastic to see Aston Martin slip to 9th.
Yes.
It's 4 points.
It's very doable.
Mm-hmm.
Bortoleto has a grid penalty for Qatar. So, but Hulkenberg could carry the weight and Bortoleto could come into play in Abu Dhabi. But yeah, sorry. And?
No, I was just going to say, and it is potentially doable. Hulkenberg looks to be up there now. He's performing again. Hopefully it continues. Bortoleto needs to take a breath and relax, and I think he could be back. So I think it's possible they score 5 points in 2.5 races, let's call it. And I would just love to see Aston pinned to the back of the grid.
They deserve it. There's a lot of arrogance in that team. Yeah, it's the one driver who clearly is checked out and the other driver who's 44. They thought this team was championship aspirations.
Never.
And I think they know that. I think they have to. I think Alonso has to see it enough times, and he has to finally give up. But because Austin just refuses to give up on him, and I don't want to ruin my predictions for next year. But I can see them finishing 9th 2 years in a row. I think next year is going to be a bigger struggle than they're leading on. I think it has to be if they ever want to win. Because they got to offload these drivers. It has to get really bad consistently until they finally change these drivers.
Mm-hmm. Which I have something to say about that, but I don't want to drag us off topic. So, is there anything else we want to talk about on that?
I was just going to ask you about Horner to Austin, those rumors, and Hamilton. So, like, we could be dragged off topic if you'd like. Have at it.
Mm. So you've heard the Horner to Austin rumors.
Yes, I don't know if I believe you, but we'll.
Well, I can tell you shouldn't believe them because the truth has now come out.
Ooh, what happened?
Adrian Newey is now the team principal.
What?
He will replace Andy Cowell.
How do you know this?
The press releases.
Oh, shit. Hold on. I didn't see that today.
So, on top of his shareholding position and his technical management role, he will also handle team principal roles, which makes him responsible for the team as a whole, as well as the technical direction of the car. Which, interesting twist, if he's team principal, he has quite a large say in who drives for him.
Wow. That's humongous. Holy shit. I'm sorry. I'm just learning about this now. I did not see that all day.
Yeah. So keep in mind that Stroll still owns the team. So it's not a matter of Newey stepping in and saying, thanks, Lance, goodbye. But he will now have a larger say, being a part owner and team principal, as to who drives for him. So the first time he gets fed up with Fernando, I would expect that we start hearing some whispers that Fernando no longer has a career after next year. But we'll see.
The media knows how to talk. Newey knows how to talk to the media. The media has sucked Fernando's dick for 20 years, so they will spare his blushes on the way out. I think you're right in that sense that Fernando is now going to retire. Like the old tap on the shoulder, like, see ya, but we'll make it sound nice.
Yes.
Like Ari Gold says in Entourage, tell Variety to suck my balls, but clean it up.
Right.
Yeah. So you think they have, just to continue the discussion, you think in a sense they're going to have to be bad in order for Newey to get his way on the drivers and then to finally realize development? Or is this Newey understanding that he has to take complete control of this team to get Austin the way he wants it?
I wouldn't even put it like that. I think that Newey has his fingers in the design department, which is where we expect him to be, let's say. But now has the ability to put more influence on the team. And keep in mind, Newey's been in F1 for a long fucking time. Mm-hmm. He knows how this sport runs better than most people that are currently in it. Right? He started with March in 81 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So over 40 years in the sport. So out of anybody, I'd say he's the most qualified for that type of position. And he wouldn't be there if people like Lawrence Stroll didn't trust his opinion. So I see him having an outsized impression on where the team goes in the future. And the release that came out with this is that Andy Cowell, who is currently their team principal, who replaced Mike Crack, is moving to chief of strategy or something like that. I forget what the role is, but it's a brand new role that doesn't exist currently. So Andy Cowell, the guy that was largely responsible for the success of the Mercedes engines in this generation, is no longer in a technical development role.
Wow. So,
yeah.
So was it a sense of Aston Martin then, in hindsight, they just took him away from Mercedes? Like it's a negative on Mercedes, not necessarily a positive for Austin to have him.
No, Cowell's been with Aston Martin for a little while.
No.
So I wouldn't say it was anything related to that. I think they had a plan for him and Newey convinced people otherwise. The press release makes it very clear, though, that this was a mutual decision.
Hmm.
So read into that what you will.
I'm sure we can trust everything that is told to us.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. They've never given us reason not to. So
No, why would they?
no, why would they? Yeah, that's huge. I'm excited to see where that team goes now. I'm gonna have a future order. I think you can do a future order on Amazon or something like scheduled order for what is it? December 2026. I will order a Aston Martin shirt, and I will become a fan of that team as the second Lance and Fernando are offloaded as their drivers. The second.
Sure.
Well, there's a very cool structure in place. It's just being, like you said brilliantly at the beginning of the season, it's being $140 million is being wasted on two crappy drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a great structure in place.
Yes.
Just to finish that point off, so the courses that Aston Martin are normally good at are the Arab courses, so Qatar and Abu Dhabi. So you don't think they're getting any points the next two races?
No, I don't.
Wow.
I think they've stopped development, and this may partially be due to, hey, let's try and get as much development time as we can next year, right? If they fall south of Sauber, the only worst team from them is Alpine. So it'll be Alpine and Aston Martin that basically get to run wind tunnel and CFD tests all year next year.
Fernando Alonso's two most recent teams will be 9th and 10th.
Telling, isn't it?
Very. But you and I have beaten that horse to death, specifically me.
Yes.
We'll just finish the episode. Do you think Lewis Hamilton's I'm not even looking forward to next year comment at the end of another crappy weekend from Ferrari, do you think that comment is truthful, or do you think he's just trying to be the center of attention? Because that's what I surmised at the beginning, that it might just be him trying to make this all about him, and because clearly the racing isn't this season. But do you think there's any truth to that? Do you think he might retire before next season?
I don't know that he'll retire, but his contract runs until the end of next year, right?
It's a 2+1. Yeah, there's an option if both parties want it.
Yeah, I don't see him being around after next year.
Wow.
So
yeah,
we've seen it before where he's been pretty vocal about what he thinks about these cars and how they're quote unquote too easy to drive, which is bullshit. But
yeah,
I mean, compared to the death traps he drove when he was younger, it's not totally incorrect. They're safer to drive. I don't know that they're easier. I don't think that he has the will to do it anymore. And I think part of that is Ferrari has taken it from him.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it was such a drastic change and was so drastically bad and they can't seem to get on top of it, I think it's just taken his will to live from him. But that being said, this is all he knows how to do. So I think he's going to wait it out for next year. But pretty quickly next year, we might see that he decides to pull the plug and not renew.
Yeah, and make it all about him. It's his Kobe Bryant style retirement season. Right, if I know you don't follow basketball that well, but Kobe announced his retirement in 2016, and every game was just all about him, even though the Lakers were like last place. I see something like that with Lewis Hamilton. Like, I can't be at the top of the timing charts, but I can be in the first thought in everybody's mind going into the weekend.
I don't know if that's Hamilton himself, though. That's the media, because they hype up Hamilton and his contribution to the sport. Right? The guy is clearly depressed.
Yes.
He's not doing this. It's people that won't leave him alone to be miserable, right?
But like, you look at the beginning of the season with the 8 windows picture. You know what I mean? The 7 windows closed, 7 windows open and 1 window closed at Ferrari. He knows how to play them like a fiddle. He knows how to talk to the media. He knows how to deal with them. I can just, yeah. You're right. He'll play into it, or the media will make it worse. essentially. He'll announce it, and then the media will run with it.
Sure.
I genuinely feel bad for him. I really don't think he understood the task at hand. And you and I talked about it all last year. It's just you can't walk into Ferrari expecting a good car, which is exactly what he did. And
Yeah, I mean,
go on.
he bought the trap that everybody buys, right? The passion, the soul of Ferrari and racing and all that fucking nonsense.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
No, it's gone. It's there was a part of me. I was going through a walk in the woods earlier in the week, and I was thinking about a lot of things, and one of them was in Atlas Shrugged, which I've talked about a lot, and Ayn Rand writes about a against the odds railroad that's being built, and someone who you think would be passionate for that railroad being built, Francisco d'Anconia, one of the characters, he refuses to help invest. He refuses to give any help to building the railroad because, I'm paraphrasing, but he says, because I don't want to give crappy people something to loot and destroy, something that I love, to crappy people who will loot and destroy. And I just think that's kind of where my anger and sadness comes from at Ferrari, because like I watched Michael, Ross Brawn, Jean Todt when I was growing up build this great structure, this great winning machine, and it was handed off to scum in such a way that they've destroyed it and used that brand and used their name every chance they have to just keep making a crappy product and not having to answer to anybody and not apologize for it and not act like they're the problem, right? Like John Elkann coming out and saying, just drive. We're giving you everything you need. And no, you're not. No, you're not. You don't know the first thing about what this team needs. And I bring that up just to say, like, I almost think it was a mistake for Michael to ever save that team. That's where I'm at right now. Like, I'm at that point where I'm like, it was not worth it. It was not worth resurrecting that brand. They should have Michael should just let it die. He would have had a better life, a better career. To save.
But you can't let it die, Nick. It's Ferrari. It's the soul of racing.
Yeah, I know you're being facetious, but yeah, you're right. Like you have over the years given me a million reasons why it's not, and you're right. But like for a brief moment, great minds took over that team and gave that team what it wanted, and all it did was just throw them in the garbage. Like I've talked about a million times, stab Michael behind his back and signed Kimi Räikkönen. Threw out Ross Brawn. Yeah, we don't need you anymore. Let John Todt retire without any fuss. You guys have too much power, Luca de Montezemolo said. You're right. You said it perfectly a couple episodes ago. This is not a fucking church. It's not a religion. Stop treating it like one.
Mm-hmm. But you see, if Montezemolo had let them continue, the expectation would be that Ferrari wins. You wouldn't have the hope and the prayer of next year. You would simply have, it has to happen. It would be like Mercedes, where it's all about the win instead of the passion that is Ferrari.
Yes.
Ferrari's never won consistently.
No.
They've had flashes of brilliance. They had an extremely good few seasons with Michael, but that's been the most successful part of their history. Yes. And in this grand scheme of their history, it was a flash in the pan. And we see this in WEC as well. I was watching the Bahrain race in WEC, and this is the first time since 1976 or some shit like that Ferrari's won a Constructors in endurance racing.
What?
Yeah. So why the fuck are we praising Ferrari?
Why is he talking like this, like winning in WEC is a given?
Because it was this year.
Yeah.
But not since 1976.
Yeah, that's... Wow. Yeah, that sums up perfectly. Yeah, go.
But this is why I made the comment last time about someone needs to remind Elkann that he's an Agnelli, not a Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari could get away with saying shit like that. Whether it was right or wrong, that's who Enzo was. Mm-hmm. The Agnellis bailed out Ferrari because they knew their place, let's say. They knew they weren't going to be the Ferraris, but they had this successful road car business that was able to pay for Ferrari to do whatever the fuck he wanted. Doesn't give them the right to speak like Ferrari.
So yeah, it's a derivative of a derivative holding up an emblem that Michael built, and they don't even understand how he built it.
Right.
Yeah. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. Like that, I'm rethinking my entire childhood. Like I valued the strive for excellence, and I projected something that I wasn't. I was like, I want to be like them because they strive for excellence, even though, like, I know I'm fucking lazy. Couldn't do what they did. So I worshipped what I couldn't do. But I didn't, I took Ferrari on as that emblem when Ferrari was never that emblem. I just didn't understand it as a kid.
You were indoctrinated, Nick. You were too young to know better, and you were told to do this, and you did it. And when you started asking questions, you were told to not ask questions.
But I've been asking questions since he left, and I'll point on the doll where they touched me, Sean, because this is where this conversation, like that's what your tone of voice. It sounds like the conversation is going that way. I'll show you where Ferrari touched me, Sean.
Hey, that's between you and your therapist, Nick.
They didn't touch; they inserted. And on that bombshell, I think we should end the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, but do you want to add anything else about this weekend?
No, not particularly. It's going to be a busy weekend for me, so we'll see how close I can watch it. But it's coming up to the end of the year, kind of at the point where I just want it to be done with.
Yeah, I'm at the same. But please keep listening to us, guys. Please keep listening, because we don't want to do our jobs forever. Yeah.
You and I are going to still keep going, right? We have to close out the season. We have to do some recaps and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with that. I just want the racing to be done because I'm tired of this fucking championship. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm tired of the media nonsense around the championship. I just want to get to the end and know who wins. And yeah, watch some good racing along the way. I don't want to listen to this fucking bullshit about McLaren drivers and Max Verstappen and all that.
That's why they need to cut it back down to 21 races. 24 is way too long. Way too long.
I stand by my 52 race calendar.
52 race calendar incoming. No breaks. No time off.
None.
Design cars in
Make
your
them
sleep.
Suffer.
Yes, design cars in your sleep, God damn it.
Just design a year ahead.
I'm okay
with
this.
No development, no nothing.
I'm okay with sweatshop style development. I got there.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? It's where the world
is going. Do what most automotive companies do these days. Outsource all the design work to India. Outsource all the manufacturing to China.
Done.
And we'll see where the real endurance championship is.
Yeah, that's the way the world's going. Let's let Formula One was supposed to represent the excellence of the world. That's the way the world's going. Let's do that.
And just to be clear, I don't necessarily have a problem with that in certain situations where you're actually putting the effort into it. The problem is a lot of companies are doing this without proper infrastructure and planning and everything else. And I think that's the message we're getting from F1. It's, hey, we have an idea. We're going to do it. Fuck what you guys think. We'll make you believe that it's a good idea.
It's going to be a bigger church than Ferrari in a few years if it keeps it up.
Yes.
Wow. There's positives, people. Keep listening. There will be positives in the future, I promise.
I'm positive about where this sport is going, yes. Just, yeah, we're allowed to be bitter about some of the things we see.
We are old men with kids now, so we're allowed to sit on the porch and scream at things.
Get off my lawn.
Get off. All right, Sean. Enjoy the
All right, Nick.
copious amounts of beer, liverwurst, bratwurst, schnitzel, and we'll talk when you get back about the Qatar Grand Prix, which I'm sure will be hectic.
Yes. All right, Nick.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.